All right. So you'll notice there's two little pictures of me up there on the Zoom screen. If you've not had me in class, I do record all of my lectures live. So that way, if you're absent or if you want to go back and review information that we talked about, you can go back and watch the video. I will post it on Canvas within 24 hours of the class. Hopefully, I'll do it before I leave. Otherwise, Wednesdays are pretty hectic, so it may take me a little bit longer. So I'll try to be in the habit of getting this video uploaded. The reason why I bring that up is because I do wear an earbud. That earbud allows me to give a really good quality of sound and not have to be stuck behind a computer and relying on the microphone from the computer. So I promise I'm not listening to music. I'm not listening to a podcast. I am simply recording and providing that. As you have noticed, our door out here has locked. I believe it probably auto locks at 5. I will put a request in to keep that open until at least 7 o'clock. Okay. I did run downstairs to the first floor and noticed that the first floor doors are open. So you might, if these are locked and you can't get a hold of somebody, first of all, don't walk all the way around. We have windows right here. Just come and wave and we'll go and let you in. Okay. Unless you really just absolutely want to get some extra steps in, go for it. So let's talk about management and leadership, HAMG 2305. So as I mentioned, I received this class on Friday last week. This is the first time that I've taught this class in a full semester since 2018. I'm really looking forward to it. I have taught this class online as a summer class, but that is only in 5 weeks, and it's 100% online student driven. So I tell you that because I am used to this class being done in 5 weeks. So I am going to do my best to slow down and try to go through the material and help us stretch it out over the course of 16 weeks. Okay. Um, as I was showcasing the schedule to my Tuesday morning, I teach this class on Tuesdays at 9:15 in the morning, Tuesday and Thursday. So what I do on Tuesday in my 9:15 class is going to be the first half of our class. Okay. What I do for the second half of our class is what I will do on Thursday at 9:15 in the morning. I tell you that because this room is large enough that if you need to miss class on a Tuesday night, you are welcome to come to my Tuesday, Thursday class. Okay. So if you know you're going to be out of town on a Tuesday, if you want to come in at 9:15 in the morning, you can catch up that material at that point. Give me 1 second, please. Okay. Um, so you are welcome to come to my morning class, 9:15 a.m. to 10:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Okay. If you do, please just remind me as I'm taking attendance, um, and I will count you. I'll count you present on your classes attendance. Okay. Um, Questions, comments, concerns so far? No. Okay. As I was showing my Tuesday class, my schedule, in my rush to get all 9 classes published on Friday, I realized I still made some errors in our schedule. So I'm going to go over those tonight, and I will post a revised calendar in Canvas by our next class period. Okay. I will give you a heads up that next week on Tuesday, we will have a short class. Why will we have a short class, Mr. Minsky? It's a great question. I'm glad you asked. The reason why we're going to have a short class on Tuesday next week No, just kidding. Oh man, hold on. No, I'm so sorry. It'll be regular class. I was thinking because I try to keep my classes together. So my Monday classes that are off for Labor Day, I'll give them a little bit of break on my Tuesday classes. But this is only Tuesday, Thursday, so we're not going to have a break. Never mind. Just kidding. Scratch that. Let's go back 15 seconds. All right. That's okay. I can't imagine we'll be here till 9:30 every single Tuesday night. There may be occasional times where we will. Um, but my plan for this class is to do more hands-on things in class and less lecturing. Okay. I have all my videos because I teach this class online in the summertime. All of my lectures are already recorded. They're posted online on Canvas for you. So my hope is that you will watch those videos before you come to class, ask any questions that you might have that you come across as you're listening to the videos, and then we'll jump right into some kind of activity or class discussion about the videos rather than me sit up here and talk about what you've already heard. Okay, so that's my plan for this semester. So I really need your help to make sure you watch those videos. Where it says chapter 1, the text reading, chapter 1 means you're basically going to watch those chapter 1 videos that are in Canvas, and then during week 2 we will talk about those. Okay, so you watch that chapter information during 1 week. The next week is what we're actually going to be talking about in class. Okay, I'm going to point out a couple of things on this calendar. Again, I told you I am going to change it slightly. We will not have class on week 5. Week 5 will be independent study. Okay, what does it mean to have independent study? It means don't come to class. Okay, we're not going to meet, but it does not mean that class is canceled. Okay, there will be some kind of an assignment for you to do in place of being in class on that. Okay, week 5, September the 23rd, I will be actually in the Philippines. I'm going to Holy Angel University. It's a university about 2 hours north of Manila. And I have been asked to go and review their hospitality program as part of a site inspection team. So I leave on the 19th, and I will be back on the 25th or 24th. I'll be back on the 24th. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I've never flown to Asia before. I'm not quite sure how I feel about a 14-hour flight from LA to Manila. I can't imagine being in the air for 14 hours. I did an 11-hour hike this summer to the top of Colorado. It took me about 7.5 hours to hike 5 miles from the parking lot up to the top of the mountain, and it took me 3.5 hours to come back down. So that's 11 hours. That's 3 more hours in the air. That seems very odd. The other thing that seems very odd, has anybody ever flown to and from Asia? Okay. So the other thing that seems very odd to me is that I take off at 10:55 p.m. on Wednesday, and I land in San Antonio at 9 o'clock a.m. on Thursday. But yet I go to LA, and then I have to fly from LA to Atlanta, and then Atlanta back to San Antonio. But all of that, it's very odd. So my friends have told me that it takes about 4 to 5 days to get used to being back on this side. They said going there it wasn't too bad, but coming back is interesting. Okay, it depends. I know I'm not having class on Thursday, so because there's no way. So actually, that week, which will be this week 6, um, that week will be a short week. Oh my gosh, hold on. Sorry, guys. 23rd of September, week 5, we will have no class at all. Yes, that's correct. We'll have no class at all. That's fine. That'll cover both of that. So yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that opportunity. So yeah, Let's see. Class calendar, we're good there. The other one is going to be November the 4th, week 11. Okay. Week 11, November the 4th, we will not have class because I will be at a conference in Amarillo, Texas. But ILEA, which is the International Live Event Association. Okay, so it's an international association that focuses on event management, all aspects of event management, from catering to decor to event planning to photography to DJs, all of that. On November 4th, they will be here at St. Philip's College in the evening. They're going to be hosting their monthly meeting here at St. Philip's. And as part of that monthly meeting, they want to interact with you as the students. Okay. So it's going to be a kind of an interactive networking event, but then also they are going to provide complimentary headshots. So if you want to get a professional headshot taken, come dressed professionally, maybe even in your chef uniform, and they'll take a beautiful headshot, just kind of like you see up there on the screen. Okay, so that will be November 4th. Although we will not have class, I will give you the details in order to attend that event. It'll be upstairs on the 4th floor. Okay, so just put that on your calendars. Couple other events that you might want to put on your calendar. October the 2nd, which is a Thursday night, October the 2nd, is an event called the Hidden Gems. Hidden Gems is an event put on by the San Antonio Hotel Lodging Association, SALA. I am on their board of directors. This event will happen at the Shriner Auditorium, which is up on 1604. There will be an opportunity to volunteer for this event. Okay, volunteering will be helping things like maybe coordinating with the chefs that are participating. Maybe if they need extra plates or napkins at their station, it will definitely probably include bussing tables. It might even be help running food from the chef's tables to the judge's station. So a lot of different volunteer opportunities. The really cool thing about volunteering for events like that is that when you volunteer, you also get to attend the event, which means you kind of avoid paying the $75 registration, but you still get to take part of all the stuff. Okay. It is going to be a 21 and up only volunteer opportunity, only because the event itself is 21 and up only, because every chef table will have not only a happy hour bite, but it also will have a cocktail, and it'll also have an open bar. So this will not be the type of event for you to test the validity of your fake ID. Okay. So it is a 21 and up only event. Also, keep in mind, you'll be wearing your chef uniform to volunteer at this event. So you will be wearing your St. Philip's College logo, which means you are not going to enjoy excessive amounts of alcohol. You can have a drink, okay, or you can have a couple samples, but you are not going to get wasted wearing your St. Philip's College uniform. You are representing yourself, and also you're representing St. Philip's College, okay? This also is not only a volunteer opportunity, but last year we had 22 hotels that participated. So the purpose of this event, Hidden Gems, is to showcase that we have restaurants inside our hotels in San Antonio. When you think about going out to eat, do you think about going to the Marriott Hotel or the Hotel Valencia or the St. Anthony Hotel, right? Most people don't think about going to a hotel to go to eat, but that's the purpose of this event. They are hidden gems, hidden culinary gems inside our San Antonio hotels, okay? So last year we had about 22 people, 22 hotels participate. This would be a great opportunity to network. If you taste some food that you really like, you might take a moment and talk to the chef. And if they have an opening in their kitchen, that could potentially be an opportunity for you to get a job and to network and meet other culinarians. Okay. So I will get that volunteer sign up information posted, and you can sign up for that. The other event that's coming up at the end of September, I don't have an official date yet, I'm still waiting. Hotel Contessa, which is one of our smaller hotels downtown, they would like to host a street taco cook-off, and invited our students to participate in that street taco cook-off. Okay. I will post the rules and regulations on that. They only have room for 4 teams. Okay. So I will open the registration next week, but I wanted to tell y'all this week to give you time to, if you want to pick out your classmates to maybe create a team. They're going to be teams of 3. So when you register, you have to put all 3 names on there to be counted. Okay. I will take the registrations in the order they're received and then make a wait list after that. Okay. They provide everything, all the protein, all the stuff to make the if you want to make salsas, all the sauces. They have all the different cooking. Did anybody in here participate last year when we did? Yes. Nabil did last year. Oh, and Alex, yes, you did too as well. They did it for Fiesta for the first time. What was the most surprising protein that you saw? The beef tongue. Yeah, I thought that was also that was the one I was surprised about. Alex, what about you? The tongue, yeah. He had an Instapot, so in 2 hours you could probably tenderize the tongue in. Nobody used it. No, no. We had shrimp, we had fish, we had traditional like beef, ground beef, fajitas. So yeah, it was a really cool event. It was the first time doing it. The winning team was presented chef knives, a Japanese. It's like a special Japanese knife. Pretty cool. So each person from the winning team got to take home a knife. So yeah, so they're excited to host that again for us. I'll post that. It'll be the end of September or beginning of October. No, I take that back. End of October, beginning of November for the Dia de los Muertos celebration. So I will keep you posted on that. Trying to think if there's any other events that are coming up, and I do not believe so. Okay. So I will update this calendar and get it to you for Canvas. All right. So let's talk a little bit about management and leadership. Okay. How many of you, by a show of hands, have any kind of experience with supervisory positions, whether it's a mid-level, low-level, or high-level supervisory positions? Okay, excellent, cool. Anything, yeah, anything. Doesn't have to be in hospitality. It can be anywhere, any job. Okay. Training somebody, yeah, absolutely. That's part of leadership. And so, like, for example, when I was at Cheesecake Factory, I was a designated trainer. So when I worked as a designated trainer, anytime we had new people come in, one of us DTs were in charge of making sure that the new hires were trained the right way for servers. Yep, absolutely, good. Okay. My background, for those of you who I've not taught in class before, I'll try to make this very quick. I started out at Chester's Hamburgers at 16 years old here in San Antonio. I worked at Chester's Hamburgers all through high school and for a little bit after. And then once I had learned every position at Chester's, except for the manager's position, there really wasn't an opportunity for me to move up anymore. And so oftentimes in hospitality, you'll hear the phrase, you either move up or move on. And so since I had no opportunity to move up, I decided to move on. And that moving on was in the form of going to TGI Fridays. I worked at TGI Fridays at the Forum Shopping Center, which is now a Verizon Wireless. And I opened that store as a trainer. I applied for server jobs at Denny's and IHOP before I went to TGI Fridays, and neither one of them would hire me because I had no experience. Well, how do you get experience? if nobody hires you, right? And so, fortunately, whatever I did differently from IHOP and Denny's, whatever I changed and did differently for TGI Fridays, they saw something, took a chance, hired me. Um, and then I worked at the Days of Allah location, which is now Twin Peaks. Fridays didn't do so well in San Antonio. And so I worked there as training. And then when our store opened, after the corporate trainers left and our store was kind of like on its own, um, they turned the store over to me and my coworker Christy as the lead trainers of the store. So of course I wanted to go back to IHOP and Denny's and be like, suckers, you missed out. You got a lead trainer. Of course I did not do that because I'm a professional. Um, but I worked at TGI Fridays for about 8 months. And then because I had that experience of TGI Fridays, Cheesecake Factory opened at North Star Mall. I was on the opening team of Cheesecake Factory North Star Mall about 23 years ago. It's hard to believe it's been around for 23 years. I was on the opening team and I thought I was done. I was at the top of my career. There was nowhere else to go because I was at the top. I was at the Cheesecake Factory. Okay. Thankfully, that was not true. I had much more growth to do. From Cheesecake Factory, I was a designated trainer as a server. I also cross trained into the bakery, where they do not bake anything at Cheesecake Factory. It all comes deeply chilled, aka frozen. And so I worked at the bakery and as a cashier. And then I had an opportunity to go work in the summertime for Philmont Boy Scout Ranch. So I worked in New Mexico. The first couple summers, I primarily worked with kids. And it was at a conference center. I had no idea that was part of hospitality until I came back to St. Philip's College and took a class about group tours. And I was like, wait, this is what I did in New Mexico. So I took care of kid groups. At the time, I wanted to be a high school teacher. Well, first elementary, but the first week of working with 6-year-olds at the camp, I was like, nope, I got to do high school. So this was back in 2003, in the early days of online registration. And I didn't do any kind of preparation, so I had no classes scheduled for the fall of 2003. And so one night I was talking to some people and they're like, hey, you should come teach with us in Houston. We teach fifth grade outdoor education. So I did that. I taught fifth grade outdoor ed for 4 years, 9 months in East Texas, 3 months in New Mexico. Part of my time at New Mexico, I rose the ranks. And I was actually the director of the spouses program. So I had to schedule my own programming. I had to make people that their spouses were coming for classes, and it was my responsibility to program and keep their spouses entertained during the day. So of course we did shopping tours, we did crafts, we did Dutch oven cooking, that kind of fun stuff. So I had to like manage a budget, work in kind of a leadership role, train the people that were working with me week to week. And then I was like, okay, I got to be a grown up. I got to go back to school. So I came back to St. Philip's College. I had switched my degree from culinary to hotel. All my classes that I'd taken in 2000 as culinary major transferred over to hotel management. Finished that degree in 2009. I did my internship at the La Quinta Inn and Suites downtown, across from HEB. At the same time as a student, I was also working at Barron's Restaurant at Sheraton Gunther Hotel, where I was known as the singing waiter. I would serenade my guests as they enjoyed dessert before they went across the street to the Majestic Theater for a show. So that was a lot of fun. And then from there, I got my degree and I started working on my degree for hospitality event management, which is now our hospitality degree. And I worked for a ranch. I did corporate events. I did weddings. And after about 4 years of doing that, I was like, you know what? I'm tired of these brides. They're just a little high maintenance. The mothers, even worse. But it was also right around the time that Pinterest was coming out. And I have a hard time with people taking credit for other people's work. And so brides would come up and be like, "Oh my gosh, I came up with this idea." And I'm like, "Girl, I saw 5 versions of that on Pinterest. Like, make it your own, right? Take it and make it your own." So I found myself getting really cynical on a day that's supposed to be really happy for these ladies. And so I decided, you know what? Again, move on or move up. I'd already moved up as far as I could go. I also had finished my bachelor's degree at A&M San Antonio. And my bachelor's degree was in business. So I was trying to give some ideas to the ranch about ways we could save some money, maybe budget a little bit differently, elevate our product. And they really weren't having it because they're a family-owned business. And what's the reason they gave? We've always done it this way. So we're just going to keep doing it this way. And I was like, okay, I've hit my ceiling. It's time for me to move on. So I really didn't have to look for a job because I was so involved with the hospitality industry in San Antonio. I was just complaining one day, to be honest. And they were like to one of my coworker or one of my board members, and he was like, "Well, why don't you just come work for us?" So my job interview was all the things I had done beforehand when I wasn't even really like interviewing for a job. It's just he knew my work ethic, he knew my connections to the other people in San Antonio, and he was just like, "Why don't you just come work for us?" And a month later, I went to go work for them. I worked for a destination management company called Adventures in San Antonio. I focus more on the corporate side, planning events for people that are coming here for training. I planned some really cool, fun events there for a year while I finished my bachelor's degree. And then I had this epiphany that I wanted to teach. I took a human resources class and I fell in love with human resources, which is kind of weird. Most people don't fall in love with human resources. But I realized that that's kind of training and development, and that's teaching in some way. The year that I graduated, May 2014, is the same year that my professor of hotel management, Deb Romeo, announced she was retiring in December of 2014. And so I applied for the job. I had already gotten approved to be an adjunct. Okay. And I remember seeing the department chair at an event, and she said, "David, I haven't seen your application come through for the full-time position." And I said, "Oh no, I'm just going to do adjunct for a semester. And then I'm going to see if I like teaching, and then I'll apply for the full-time." And she said, "No, that's not how this works." She said, "We are hiring a full-time position that will start in January. And just so you know, this is the first time that position has come available in 26 years. Okay, you'll have my application tomorrow. Okay. If I had not gone to that networking event and I had not seen her and she had not made a comment, I probably wouldn't be here today, 11 years later. Okay. And so somebody once told me, you never know where the right place and the right time is. So you have to be everywhere all the time. Okay. Now, I took her very literally early on in my career. And now, after about 15 years of being in the hospitality industry, I can be a little bit more selective in where I go. But I will tell you, every time I had this feeling of like, oh, I really don't want to go to this networking event, or I'm really tired, I don't want to go. If I force myself to go, chances are I'm going to meet somebody that might be a future practicum site, or it might be somebody who could come and be a guest speaker or a field trip opportunity. Okay. So I always encourage you, if you have an opportunity to do something networking wise, to go ahead and jump on that. Since I've been teaching here at St. Philip's College, January of 2015, I have since earned my master's degree from North Texas in hospitality management. And I finished that in 2020. And then in 2023, I made the decision to continue on and get a doctorate degree. So I am currently working on that. I am in school myself right now. I'm in my dissertation phase. So I have 4.5 classes left to take at Grand Canyon University is where I'm going for my doctorate. And my doctorate is focused on higher education leadership. And the focus of my study is mentorship as part of leadership development, specifically in higher education. But my goal is to hopefully take those findings and apply them to the hospitality industry as well. Okay. And how can we mentor people to be prepared to accept a leadership position? Not wait until they got the position. Okay. Lex, you've been a supervisor for so long. David, you just got hired as a supervisor. So now Lex is going to mentor you. But why not, David, if you're showing promise early on, why can't we identify those qualities and start coaching you so that when the leadership position comes available, you automatically are qualified for it? So that's kind of the focus of my research. So I'm looking forward to that being done. Um, and the signal for when that is going to be done is when I shave my beard. I shaved the day before my first class, June 5th of 2023, and I have not shaved since. The day they call me and say, you are now Dr. Uminski, I will shave this beard. And if you come back and you see me with a shaved beard, that's your cue to call me Dr. Uminski. You can be like, I knew him back when. Um, yeah, back when. So that's kind of like my leadership, my management experience. I also worked for the Acadia Institute of Oceanography. It's a small summer camp up in Seal Harbor, Maine, which is near Bar Harbor, in Acadia National Park. I worked there in the summertime as the assistant cook in 2007, and then I was the head cook in 2008 and 9. And then I went back in 2015 as soon as I started teaching here and had my summers free. I went back as the head cook in 2015, 16, 17, and 18. So my job was to plan menus for a 2-week menu. I had to order my food, and then I had to execute breakfast and dinner for about 60 people a day. I had an assistant that helped me with dinner, and I did breakfast by myself. And then also I prepared lunch, like lunch meat and things like that for the students to make their own lunches. So I had to manage a budget and make sure that all the things I was ordering, I was practicing FIFO. I was practicing things like reusing product, so it didn't just go in the trash, to manage all of that. So it was really fun to be able to see how all of my jobs, and I say jobs because those are all different positions that I had, helped me develop into the career that I've had. Um, and so sometimes students call me chef. If you say that, I know we have a lot of chefs in the department. I'm not probably not going to correct you, but I am not a chef by any means. I will wear a chef coat occasionally, but I am not a chef by any means. I am a cook. That's what I kind of think about. Chefs make the recipes, cooks follow the recipe. But so I do have a small background in culinary with that. All right. Questions, comments, concerns? Hopefully I have enough of these. If not, I'll run upstairs and print a couple more. I think I do. All right, so I'm going to pass these out if you'll pass them down. We're going to do an introduction exercise. Okay. With this introduction exercise, I was trying to think, how many of y'all do like introductions in your other classes? Anybody ever did that? Y'all don't do that? I have to talk to my colleagues. How do y'all get to know each other if you don't do introductions? Oh my goodness. All right. So oftentimes when another part of my leadership responsibilities was the president of the Alamo Area Hospitality Association. AHA, AAHA is the acronym. And let's see. 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, I'm gonna need 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna interview each other. Yep. I'm gonna go upstairs and print a couple more. So just bear with me for a moment. But one thing that I learned as I had to do in 2008, I was a student at St. Philip's. I earned the AHA scholarship, so $500 scholarship that went towards my academic, whatever, my balance. In 2012, 4 years later, there was somebody that asked me to be on the board of directors of AHA. Okay, I'd been a member for 2 years, and they're like, you should be a board of director. And I said, no, that is for old people, and I am not old. I cannot do that. And she said, no, I think you'd be really good. And so she convinced me, and I went ahead and did it. And then I had the fortunate opportunity to then be asked to be, I was community outreach the first year. I was asked to be vice president in 2013, which means I was president in 2014. So, what's that? 6 years after receiving the scholarship, I was the president giving the scholarship back to St. Philip's College. So, AHA is a very full circle organization for me. I've been involved with them since 2010. And I had the other opportunity to be president again in 2024. We had an opportunity for the vice president position to become open, and I applied for that. Do we have any extra sheets down here, or do we have just enough? Okay, cool. So I still need a few more. I'll go print those. I'll be right back. But as president of the association, it was my responsibility to introduce the speaker at every lunch. So I had to get up and speak in front of people. Okay. And so I thought, what better way to kind of get you introduced to doing that in future leadership roles that you might have than to do introductions here in this class. Okay. So I am going to pair you up, and then hopefully there is somebody from each pair that will have at least one piece of paper. You can get started, and then I will run upstairs and print out a few more. Okay. So what's going to happen is once you get paired up, then you're going to interview your partner. Okay. And you're going to fill out the paper. Can I borrow yours for a moment, Leah? Please. Thank you. I've highlighted it to keep it easy for you. So the yellow is their name. You just put their name in each spot where it's highlighted yellow. Their degree is the green spot, so you put their degree in that spot, okay? The rest of it you're going to fill out by asking them those questions. And so as they're talking, you don't have to write down exactly what they're saying, but as they're talking, listen to what they're saying and then jot down a sentence there, okay, about when they're going to graduate, what their hobbies are, and an interesting fact about them. Okay. And then we're going to take turns introducing our partners to the rest of the class. Okay. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 29 divided by 2 is 15 roughly. All right. I'll get you guys separated here. That should be 15, 13, 14, 15. All right. 13, 14, 15. Yeah, okay. I'm going to shuffle these cards up. Let me throw an extra set in just in case. Shuffle these cards up, okay? And then you're going to find your partner based on the cards that you get, okay? So there are primarily the red cards, okay? So you are going to, like the 2 of hearts, 2 of diamonds, they will match up, obviously, okay? The hearts and the diamonds will match up based on the suit. There are a couple of black cards, I think the 4s, and then the kings or aces, just in case we need a little extra, okay? So 1, 2, I'll let Anna, you can choose first, pick any card you'd like. Excellent. I'll reward you guys for sitting in the front row. So you can pick whatever card you want. You got 2, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There you go. 8. There you go. Perfect. There you go. Whoever has the 2 of hearts will interview me, will be paired with me. As soon as you get your cards, you can go All right. So as you're finishing up, if you could still continue working, I'm going to do a couple of explanations real quick. Um, Essentially, what this is going to do, I want to first make sure that there is only a number 1, 2, 3, or 4 in each row. There should not be a duplicate 4 or a duplicate 3. Okay, so just double check your work to make sure there's a 1 through 4 in every single row, and then give me a thumbs up so I know that you're in good shape. If you have a duplicate number, we need to adjust that. Okay. All right, so now what we're going to, this is where a lot of people sometimes will get messed up, okay? They typically just add straight across. Well, that's not how we're gonna do this, okay? If you notice the orange block down at the very bottom, it says you wanna add up A, H, K, N, and S, okay? So those 5, if you look right here, what I'm gonna recommend that you do is write the letters vertically underneath the box like I did for the green, blue, and gold. Okay. So A, H, K, N, and S. And then write the number that is in the block of that box letter. Okay. So for example, my A was 3, my H was 4, and you're going to add those together to get your total score for that color box. Okay. So go ahead and work on that. You should not have any number larger than 20. 20 is the max, right? 4 is the highest number you can give, and there's 5 boxes. So if you get more than 20, you've done something wrong, okay? So I want you to go ahead and add up. Feel free to use your calculators. That's totally fine. Okay, go ahead and add up your scores for each color box: orange, green, blue, and gold. Yes. We're going to go over that after this is done. Yep. Absolutely. All right, just take a couple more minutes. Okay, so the 4 colors. Your first color is your brightest and most dominant of your personality traits. Okay, orange, green, blue, and gold. I'm going to show you basically what these different color personality traits mean. It'll be interesting to see how they align with your personality. Okay. It's interesting to note that you have aspects of all four colors. Okay. You have a dominant color and you have the least dominant, right? The weakest color, but you still have aspects of that personality trait. It's just not as dominant. Okay. So your second color can be pretty close. How many of you, by a show of hands, is your first and second color within 2 or 3 points? Within 2 or 3 points. That's pretty close. How many of you are 4 or more points away from like your first and second color? Okay, cool. Awesome. Your third and fourth color, okay. So you may still have some of these, but again, that fourth color is the weakest. Bless you. And so you might still have some of those from time to time based on the situation and the environment that you're in, but it's not necessarily going to be there all the time. Okay. So let's talk about these colors. Blue. Bless you. Blue is the nurturer. So blue is sensitive to others. Okay. They're the ones who wants to take care of people. They want to be a team player. They also are kind of a little bit more idealistic. They seek that unity and harmony. And so we have some famous blues. We have Mozart, the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz, Thomas Jefferson, Cinderella, Gandhi, Muhammad Ali, and Jimmy Carter are some famous blues. Raise your hand if blue is your number one top color. Go ahead and stand up. Stand up. Let's give applause to our nurturers. Awesome. How do you think being, you can have a seat. How do you think being a nurturer can help you in a leadership role? Good. Being empathetic towards others. Good. What else? Yes. Good. Customer service. You can probably put yourself in your customers or your guests' shoes and figure out how to better take care of them. And then also teach your associates and your team members also how to do that. Yeah, good. Building that trust. I like that. All right, characteristics of a green. Greens are the visionaries. They're the ones who kind of take a moment, they look at everything from like a big picture perspective. They figure out if we do this right now, what are the implications of that later? Oftentimes, greens are people who think a little bit on the slower side because they're not necessarily slow in their decision making, but they're just taking time to consider all different aspects. Okay, so stand up if you are a green, a visionary. Look at that. Sebastian's even wearing his color. Awesome. Okay, so let's give a round of applause to our visionaries. If we want someone to think about long term of what's going to happen, we might want to reach out to those individuals. So look at these famous greens. Socrates. I don't really not sure how they figure out Socrates is a green. Right. Bill Nye the Science Guy, the Scarecrow from the Wizard of Oz, apparently is a green. All right. Gold. Gold is the traditionalists. Okay, they are the ones who kind of respect traditions. They're the ones who kind of don't want to make a lot of changes. They just want to keep things the way they are. They want to focus on the work before they can go and play and enjoy. Okay, there's always a right way to do something. They're like the sticklers of the procedure. Okay, sorry. Let's go back real quick. Greens. What's the benefit? What benefit can a green add to leadership? What do you think? Future of a company, absolutely. Do you think, just throwing this out there, Cracker Barrel would be having a lot of issues that they're having right now if they had a green visionary to say, hey, if we make these changes, what could potentially be some of the issues that could come from this, right? Just throwing that out there. All right, so the traditionalists. what do you think is how this type of personality can benefit you as a leader? Okay, so you're reliable. People know exactly what you're going to do because you're consistent. Good. What else? Exactly. They're going to follow they know you're going to follow the rules, and so you're going to establish those rules and you're going to follow those. So let's look at some famous golds. Mother Teresa, Santa Claus apparently is a gold. He likes to stick to the rules. George, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's very consistent. George Washington, Henry Ford, Florence Nightingale, and Dorothy, the Wizard of Oz. All right, so which Wizard of Oz character is going to be the orange? Obviously, the lion. I think. I don't remember. I haven't looked at this in a while. All right. Oranges are the adventurous. All right. Did all the golds stand up? Oh, I'm so sorry. Golds, please stand up. Golds. Golds. See, I'm not even following the rules. Golds. We got a couple of golds in here. Excellent. Okay. Awesome. Oranges. Obviously, what color am I? I'm an orange. Blue is my second color, but I am an orange. Characteristics of an orange, we're the adventurous people. We're the ones who like to have fun. We like to have party a lot. Not necessarily like party a lot in that way, but we just like to enjoy life. We like to get out. We like to go and do really cool, fun adventures. Okay. So some famous adventure or famous oranges. There we go. We've got the lion. We've rounded out the Wizard of Oz cast. JFK, Amelia Earhart. These are people that are kind of go out and enjoy and maybe try to maybe shake things up a little bit. We don't like to necessarily do things the way that they've always been done. We like to be a little bit creative with it. Okay. So where are my oranges at? Stand up if you are an orange. Stand up. Look at that. Let's give them a round of applause. So, what are some strengths of oranges as leaders? What do you think? How does that help someone if they're an orange? How does that help them as a leader? Oh, yeah, they're willing to take that risk. They're willing to change their logo. I don't know. That's just in my head as a current event. Sorry. I can't remember the last time I went to Cracker Barrel, so I can't really judge it. I do know they serve alcohol now. One of the podcasts I listen to talks about that. They have sangria, which I don't know why you'd order sangria at Cracker Barrel, but hey, whatever. Anyways, I digress. What are some other reasons why oranges might be that personality might go well in a leadership role? Good under pressure. Yeah, we're very quick thinkers. I don't like greens. Not because they're green, but because they take too long to make a decision. I want to make a decision right now, right? Okay, well, that's interesting that you're green and orange. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of things here. Most of the population are gold and orange, okay? Blue and green. Okay, so let's do this real quick. Actually, this will be interesting. Um, I don't know, as you get more schooling, I'm always like, ooh, let's analyze the data. Okay. So if you are orange, raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're orange, real tall. So I'm gonna count you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Blues. Where are my blues? Raise your hand for blues. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right. Golds. Where are the golds? 1, 2, 3 golds. And then the greens, where are my thinkers, my visionaries? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Did everyone raise their hand? Okay. I want to keep track and just kind of see how my percentages line up with the general population. So the most of us, actually in this case, blue is the biggest color in our class, followed by golds, and then or oranges, gold, greens, orange, and then gold. All right. So this is on Canvas, so you can go back and look at it if you would like to. So look at this. the solid gold, curious green, true blue, and action oranges. So this is what those colors are esteemed for. So we talked about those golds being dependable, oranges being fun and taking risks, okay? Things that stress them. If you're a gold and there's a lack of order, does that make you stress out? If you're a blue and somebody you can tell is being artificial, does that bother you? Or are you really seeking, or do you really kind of focus on that authenticity? Or if someone's just like pretending, does that bother you? Okay. On the job, these are the categories: organizer, pragmatist, peacemaker, that true blue. Again, we want everyone to get along together. We want to make sure everything's happening good. And then that orange is the person that comes in and just shakes everything up and energizes everything. Okay. Different primary needs of each color. Gold is going to long for that security, insights and knowledge for that green, love and peace and acceptance, and then freedom. I personally, as an orange, don't necessarily like the restrictions. I like to have freedom to make some decisions, and I think that's helpful, especially in hospitality and in like event planning, when people can say, "Hey, here's my vision. What can you do with it?" Okay. Others may see you. So, why do you think it's important to understand how others might see you based on your color? They might approach you differently. Good. Excellent. Giselle, why are you laughing? So it's a gold and it says what? Dull and boring? Oh no. Well, maybe that's part of the gold that you're not, right? Maybe it's something else that's your other colors will come in and take care of that. I don't think you're dull and boring. I haven't experienced that. Yes, Gabrielle. Blue and green, okay. Okay, that's a really good point. So depending on who you're interacting with, depends on maybe how you approach them and what kind of personality you're going to get. They're going to get. Absolutely. Okay. 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 Excellent. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. What you might need to work on to be a little bit more approachable as a manager, or if I'm too outgoing and my staff, my team members need that structure, well, then maybe I need to, you know, tamp down my orangeness and rely on my gold a little bit. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Yeah. What if that affects somebody that's blue? Because somebody that's blue will be like, oh, just turn on. Yeah. No, that's a very. Especially when I became the lead, like I started telling, like I used to be like messing around, you know. And then like once I became the lead, like hey bro, make sure you stock up on you know that and stuff like that. Or like when we're cleaning and they're still laughing at 9, which we used to, but now I want to get off at 10 because I don't get paid more like I used to. I gotta be like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, you're just in a different position, and you need to figure out how to work with those and motivate those individuals. That is one of the challenges of going from like hourly into a supervisor position, especially if you're working at a job where you've been promoted from within and now you're supervising people that you used to be hourly with. So that is a challenge. All right, so let's look at goals for a moment. Oops. Let me see. Here we go. Can you guys see? No, that's way too small. All right. So gold. will frustrate people by being a control freak or being bossy. Okay? They are frustrated by other people being irresponsible or having a lack of discipline. And on a bad day, a gold just may want to just, wallow in their own self-pity. Okay? They may be unforgiving. You may snap into, like, if people are not paying attention, just like Juan was just saying, oh my gosh, you've got to get this done. I need to get off work. Okay. Because not only do you not get paid after 10 o'clock because your salary, but your associates are punching a time clock. And if they clock out after 10, then that means your labor budget's going to get way out of control. So that's something that they aren't necessarily paying attention to. Okay. Blues will frustrate others by a lack of planning. They frustrate others by a lack of planning, being too passive. Okay. They're frustrated by lying, violence, lack of communication, sarcasm. Okay. So understanding how your color might be an influence or how they work together or work against other colors is really important. Okay. They might, on a bad day, how many of you have ever been in a situation where a manager just is like clearly, blatantly, just to save face, making some information up, right? And then just so that they're covered, right? That can be really extremely frustrating, but that's just them, like maybe on a really day they're really super stressed. It's just part of their personality. Okay. Greens. If you're not being sociable, us oranges are going to be like, why aren't you being sociable? Why don't you love to go to networking events? I love networking events. But the greens are just like, I don't want to go to a networking. I don't want to go. I don't want to meet anybody else new. Okay. They also are frustrated by small talk. Okay. They don't care what the weather is like. They want to know, they're thinking about the bigger picture. Okay. So it's like, why waste my time asking me what I think about the weather? I can't control that. Talk to me about bigger picture issues. What am I working on? Okay. Why do you think greens are frustrated by routines?
It's too rigid sometimes, but it's like that doesn't necessarily make sense.
Yeah, so if it's too rigid, if there's too much routines, they want that flexibility to kind of stop and wonder and think about things. And what's that? Yeah, absolutely. Deadlines might make them a little bit stressed. So on a bad day, a green might become overly indecisive. They might use sarcasm. They might give that cold shoulder to somebody like Danielle or Gabriella was talking about, depending on who she's talking with. And let's talk about oranges. Okay. We frustrate other people by ignoring the rules. Okay. I'm just like, no, why are we doing it this way? Let's change it up. Okay. I'm not changing for the sake of changing. I think there's a better way to do it. So those oranges, sometimes I get frustrated by the rules, right? But then at the same time, if there is a procedure and nobody is following the procedure, I get so annoyed. I'm like, there's a procedure, you got to follow it, right? Or if you haven't told me the procedure and I step outside of it and you get mad at me for stepping outside the procedure, but you haven't told me what the procedure is, then I get really frustrated, especially as an orange, okay? And then I'm going to break the rules for spite. Just because you didn't tell me the rules, I'm going to break them just to make you understand that you need to tell me the rules, okay? So when I have a bad day, you guys may not believe it, but I can become pretty rude, unfortunately. So also just want to take a nap too. Greens and oranges complement each other. Okay. Gold and blue complement each other. Greens and blue conflict, and gold and orange conflict. Okay. which I think is interesting because the greens are the big wanderers and the oranges is like, I want to make the decisions now. Like, I want to move forward. And the green's like, well, hold on. They balance each other out, right? Well, hold on. What have you thought about this? What if we do it this way? Okay. Um, what's that? They hold it. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So this is posted on Canvas. You are welcome to review this. I'll show you where it is. It's right here in the module for week 1. It's the True Colors Explained. Slides 14 to 28 is really kind of what we just went over. There's a lot of information in there. This document, the personality color, this is also on there, this page. You are welcome if you want to find like a spouse or a partner and maybe see what your colors are like and how they complement each other. It may explain some of the things that they do that frustrate you or that you really appreciate about. Okay. And so this also kind of can be more of a personal side, but also professionally. It's important. When I was the president of AHA last year in 2024, I had my board of directors do this personality test. I wanted to know, as the president, who my visionaries were. I wanted to know who are the people who can think long term so that if I have a project, I know who to assign to that project and what those strengths are. Okay. There is a podcast that I listen to. I highly recommend it. It's called The Working Genius. Working Genius. How many of you listen to podcasts? Okay, cool. About, I would say this was pre-pandemic because we were in the old building. So I would say probably about 2019. I had one of my industry mentors come in and talk to my intro to hospitality class. And he mentioned that he switched from listening to music in his car to listening to podcasts. And it just put him into a different mindset. And so he talked about the importance of what we put in our head and how that can impact and influence our mood and our drive and our dedication. And so he challenged my students to pick out 2 to 3 podcasts to subscribe to and listen to. I took him up on that. I think I'm now up to like, I don't know, 15 or 16 podcasts that I subscribe to, anywhere from comedians to Working Genius, which is more business related, to like the news of the day type stuff. But this Working Genius is similar to this personality test. There's 6 different types of working geniuses. And when you work in your genius, you are the most productive. You love what you do. When you have to work outside of your genius, you dread going to work. You despise the task at hand. Okay. And so this program, I'm not going to do it necessarily as a class. If you're interested in it, I would say listen to the podcast from the beginning. And if you're interested in, I think it's like $25 to take the test. I did it over the summer because I finally wanted to see what my geniuses were. Turns out that I'm a galvanizing enabler. Okay, so enablement, I help people. I want to get people successful. And galvanizing means I want to get stuff done. Okay, there's wanderer. They're the wanderers. The invention is the one that comes up with the new ideas. Wanderer, invention, galvanizing, enabler. Ooh, what are the other 2? Discernment. So discernment, they're the ones who kind of like think critically about something. And tenacity. Tenacity is the one who has the drive to get the project across the finish line. Okay. I'm more than happy to give somebody else that project to get across the finish line. I want to get it started. I'm excited about it. And as soon as I'm done with it, whoop, I'm done. You can take over and you can cross the finish line because I don't have that tenacity to get it over, right? So we need people on our teams that have those different geniuses. It's a really cool podcasts. They're usually about 15, 20 minutes long. So nothing crazy. It's not like Joe Rogan that's 3.5 hours long. But the Working Genius, I do highly recommend you look into that. Play it while you're waiting in the waiting room, preferably with headphones and not out loud. But find something like that is of interest. I'm sure there's culinary focused podcasts that you can listen to and be inspired by. But think about that as we go through this semester and as you move forward. All right. Any questions, comments, or concerns about what we talked about tonight? All right. So as we look at the modules, what I would like, you'll see here in chapter 1 module, chapter 1, lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3. Okay. I would like you to watch those videos or listen to those videos before we come to class next week, because we'll talk about it in week 2. Okay. So as you follow the modules, then next week you'll listen to chapter 2s and we'll move forward. Okay. That is all I have for y'all tonight. If you will do me a favor and please stack your blue name tags neatly on the silver table. If you have any of these scripts, you're more than welcome to leave them there as well. I will shred them. I'll throw them in my recycle box. You're welcome to take these with you. And I want to thank you all so much. I know it's a long night. I'll see you next week on Tuesday night. Thank you.